All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. It is fight night, where Errol Spence Jr. will be fighting Terence Crawford for the undisputed welterweight title of the world. And in this video, we're going to talk about what experts have said about the fight and a big mistake that I think people are making going into this fight by thinking that Errol Spence Jr. is something that he is not. And it has a lot to do with Mexican style boxing. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. And in this video, we're going to be in the 147-pound division where, as we all know, the biggest fight of the year in several years is going to be taking place this evening, when Errol "The Truth" Spence Jr. fights Terence "Bud" Crawford in Las Vegas in front of a gigantic, excited crowd for the undisputed welterweight title of the world. And there's a lot of predictions going on around for the fight. And we've been talking about these the entire time. I mean, for years, we've been talking about predictions being made for the fight. Most people consider this fight to be a close fight. Vasily Lomachenko just came out with his prediction. If you're not familiar with who Vasily Lomachenko is, I mean, man, that's kind of tough for me to believe that you don't. But multi-divisional champion, former 3-belt holder at lightweight, champion at 130 and champion at 126. A guy that is perennial, been on pound for pound lists perennially, right? Throughout his career. He said who he thought was going to win the fight. And what he said once again reminded me of what I think, and I very rarely use this term, but I think is a bias in the sport of boxing that I think people apply to Errol Spence Jr. because Vasily Lomachenko said, I think Terence Crawford is the smarter fighter. I think that he's the smarter fighter. Now, before I get into that, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you're a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you so much for your continued support. It really does make a very, very big difference to the channel. But let's get into this, man, because I had a conversation with a good friend of mine. Was on the phone very, very late. Obviously, you know, was talking about Errol Spence and boxing and Terence Crawford and the fight that's going on. And I would consider him to be a fan of boxing. I don't think he's a casual fan. I think that he is a fairly hardcore boxing fan, not somebody that is paying attention to boxing like every day and real, intimate details about the business of boxing, what every person says at one point in time. But when there's big fights on, he watches the big fights. When there are, and he's been doing it for a very, very long time. There's articles out there. He hears what people have to say about the fight. You know, a good, solid boxing fan. And he said pretty much what Vasily Lomachenko said about Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, and what most people are saying about the fight that are picking Terence Crawford to win. They reiterate that Terence Crawford is smarter. He has a higher IQ than Errol Spence Jr. does. And that's where I say I think that there is a real bias against the boxer brawler, the boxer puncher, right? Even though I think Terence Crawford is a boxer puncher, he's not somebody that is really going to attack your body, that is constantly pressuring you, that is looking to get on the inside with you, really looking to wear your body down. I don't know really of any fighter that fights like that I have ever heard referred to as an intelligent fighter. It's almost exclusively When people talk about ring IQ and how smart somebody is, it's when they're using angles, they're moving on the outside, they're displaying foot speed, hand speed, right? Slipping punches, doing all of those type of things, right? That's almost always what happens when what the type of fight that you see where people call them high IQ fighters. Now, they are high IQ fighters, without a doubt. Those guys are all I'm not saying that they're not. But what I think people miss is the type of fighters that fight like Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. When Roberto Duran was fighting, also Marvin Hagler. I don't think I've ever heard Bernard Hopkins called a high IQ fighter that makes a lot of adjustments. Those style of fighters are great fighters. That's why for this video, I got my Roberto Duran Mano de Pedras shirt on, the Hands of Stone shirt on. Because those are very, very intelligent fighters. Juan Manuel Marquez, very, very intelligent fighter. Eric Morales, definitely a come forward, definitely a guy that's going to throw hands with you, but also intelligent fighter. Marco Antonio Barrera was a fighter that used to come forward until he lost a couple fights, and then all of a sudden he starts backing off, fighting more on his back foot, slipping shots, winds up dominating. Prince Nassim Ahmed, right? There is one thing that I think people should appreciate is that there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to go about getting something done. Usually, though, as they say in geometry, or in I think that's geometry, the fastest route from point A to point B is a straight line. So I listened to another very high IQ boxer who goes by the name of Winky Wright, one of the best 154 pounders ever in the sport of boxing. And somebody in his career that in his early career most definitely could move, box, stick, move, do all of that. A very, very high IQ fighter. That if you look at him fighting, I think it takes a high IQ to see what he's doing. So he, in a recent interview, talked about how he can move and slip and do all of that stuff, but he, at a point in time, I think he said it was during the fight with Fernando Vargas, ferocious Fernando Vargas, one of my favorite 154 pounders. He said, look, man, I found it easier because I wanted to see what this dude is made of, just to stand right there and start blocking punches and walking him down, blocking punches, countering. Because when I'm blocking shots and doing all that, I'm right there to hit you too. And that was a thought process and a specific change that he decided to make in his career that worked very, very well for him. I've never heard people call Winky Wright a high IQ fighter. However, I promise you, that man is out there making adjustments during the fight. He's just not making the type of adjustments that are readily and blatantly apparent to the how can I say, what in real time watching a fight, to people that do not have a very, very, very keen eye for the details associated with it. So for me, I think Errol Spence, and listening to what people have been saying, what Vasily Lomachenko has to say, what a lot of other people have to say, it's like, look, man, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And there are very, very great fighters, man, that are not, for example, Salvador Sanchez. Salvador Sanchez was a very, very intelligent fighter, but he was right there with you throwing punches. He was also going at you, walking you down. He could slip punches. He could do all those type of things, but a very, very high IQ type of fighter. Aaron Pryor, somebody going right at you. But Aaron Pryor is also, it makes sense for him to fight the way that he fights. But what I think sometimes happens, and this is not a prediction video for the fight. I believe Errol Spence Jr. is going to win the fight, or I favor him to fight, not some huge gap in between the two guys, but off of his work rate and the fact that he is out there scoring punches to your body, and he's going to work and work and work and earn that victory over the course of 12 rounds or however it lasts. While Terence Crawford is trying to figure you out, he's quote unquote downloading data. However, you're not scoring points when you are downloading data, and before you know it, you may get system overload. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a really good fight. I just find it really interesting. And I think that is, again, it's more difficult to see the subtleties within the brutality of a Julio Cesar Chavez or a Bernard Hopkins or an Andre Ward or a lot of these guys that most definitely, man, are very intelligent fighters, but are going to go to you and are going to try to break you down, are going to try to shut off your organs, that type of stuff, and not necessarily looking for like the quick highlight knockout type of stuff. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.